Alright everyone, so unless they get pushed back due to the wildfires in Los Angeles, the BAFTAs are going to announce their nominations on Wednesday the 15th, so I'm here to predict the BAFTA nominations. The BAFTAs are always a little unpredictable, and it's a little difficult to look at these past few years as precedent for this year because there is no jury for the categories this year, which I'm quite happy about. Maybe that will turn into less chaos, maybe that will turn into more chaos, who knows. I am just expecting now, with how chaotic the SAGs were, that BAFTAs are gonna follow suit really and not give me very many answers that I want. I'm probably gonna get quite a few of these wrong here with the BAFTA nominations, but it's a blast anyways. So with Best Film, even if The Brutalist ends up being Roma or Power of the Dog, where it's just a little bit too challenging for everyone to grasp onto, and the Oscars end up going with something a little bit more broadly appealing, I think The Brutalist is still going to win Best Picture here. Both Roma and The Power of the Dog won here, won picture and director, so I think The Brutalist is going to be just fine here at BAFTA. It's just whether it fades off with the guilds. SAG is kind of pointing towards that maybe this does just have that Power of the Dog feel where it's the big thing early on and then fades as the major awards start to go on. But regardless here, The Brutalist, I think, wins BAFTA. Emilia Perez and Conclave were the number 1 and 2 films regarding long lists. I think they are obviously very safe here, and who knows, maybe they could take Best Picture away from The Brutalist, but either way, very, very safe nominations. Anora, I also don't really see an argument for why this would miss the Best Film nomination. I think it's really safe here. It did overperform a little bit with long lists as well, getting a second supporting actor and getting cinematography, so I think Anora is going to be safely here. The 5th slot is where I am differing from most people. Many people have the substance here, and it makes sense. The substance is going to be getting a Best Director nomination, I feel, and it's going to be hitting at a lot of other categories. But I think A Complete Unknown ends up squeaking in here and taking this 5th slot. And why do I believe that? You know, you may be looking at me like an idiot, like, this film is not going to get director. It wasn't even longlisted for it. So why am I putting it in over The Substance, which is going to get a director nomination? If you go back in the past, last year there were 2 films that were Best Picture nominees at BAFTA that were not nominated for director. The year before that there was 1. The year before that there were 3. And the year before that 4 of the Best Picture nominees were not getting director nominations. Now you can look at that and say, that's just the Best Director jury that's making that huge discrepancy, and I wouldn't disagree with you there. If you look at the year before the last one I just said, all of the Best Picture nominees matched with Best Director. But do you know the last time before that all of the Best Picture nominees got a Best Director nomination? 2006, the Crash Brokeback Mountain year. So there is a long-standing precedent of there being at least one Best Picture nominee, if not multiple, at the BAFTAs that do not get a Best Director nomination. So for that, I am not predicting The Substance. And which film here do I believe has the best chance to get that Best Picture nomination if it's not getting Best Director? It's really between Complete Unknown, Dune, and Wicked. I don't think The Substance or Kneecap get into Best Picture. It's cool that they were longlisted though. I don't think Wicked is a Best Film nominee at BAFTA. I just think that's going to be more of an American thing. It's great for Wicked that it was even longlisted here. Dune, if it's going to underperform what the first one did, I don't think it gets in. A Complete Unknown has been showing serious signs of passion in the film industry, basically hitting at every single guild possible. It overperformed at SAG, and it got a DGA nomination. I believe A Complete Unknown is just going to have a lot of industry passion behind it and get that Best Picture nomination. Best Director, Brady Corbet is winning this if it's winning Best Picture, and even if it doesn't, I think Brady Corbet is winning this. After that, you know, Emilia Perez, Conclave, Anora, all very locked in with their films in Best Film. After that, I think The Substance is definitely getting a nomination here, and the sixth slot is really just up to Kyle Kapadia in All We Imagine Is Light versus Denis Villeneuve in Dune Part 2, because I don't think Lee, The Outrun, or La Chimera have any chance at this nomination. Denis Villeneuve did not get nominated at BAFTA for the first one. The second film is underperforming the first one basically everywhere. So I'm going to say the BAFTAs replicate what the Globes lineup was, and they nominate Kyle Kapadia. Best Actress, I think we have a very clear top two here. Mikey Madison and Demi Moore. Don't really bother with what I put at number one for these acting nominations, because these are just nomination predictions after all. I'm not being super serious about what the eventual winner is. I'm just going to put Madison at number one, Demi Moore at number two, because I can't imagine Demi Moore sweeps the entire season. I think Madison's going to at least pick up one or two things and make it somewhat competitive at the Oscars, even if Moore ends up winning that Oscar. So I'm going to put Madison at one here. Obviously, Demi Moore, very strong number two. After that, I think Marianne Jean-Baptiste is getting this nomination pretty easily. I could even see her stealing a win, if I'm being honest, but I don't think it's going to happen. Hard Truths wasn't longlisted for Best Film. Mike Leigh was not longlisted for Screenplay, so I think Baptiste is just going to be nomination and not end up winning. Gascon is a really safe nomination with how much international support Emilia Perez has. I think Cynthia Erivo is going to be perfectly fine for this BAFTA nomination. She's hit everywhere else. She is British. I don't see any reason to doubt her getting this nomination. She might not be as high on my BAFTA predictions as she is on some other prediction videos I've done, but that doesn't really matter. I think she's getting a nomination here, especially since there are 6 slots. Kate Winslet for Lee, I can very much see getting a nomination here and being kind of threatening for that 5th spot at the Oscars, depending on if she gets this or not, and I think she will. Lee is a film that made money in England. They did go out and see this movie and they liked it, unlike Americans who barely saw this film. So I think Kate Winslet, with her being Kate Winslet and this movie actually having some passion in Britain, she's gonna get this Best Actress nomination. Saoirse Ronan, her chances for anything really are in the toilet. And Marissa Abela, Amy Adams, I don't see them getting nominations here. Nicole Kidman, her chances at the Oscar went in the toilet after SAG. I don't see why she would get BAFTA. Best Actor, I kind of am toying with maybe predicting Chalamet for the win here. I'm just going to stay with Adrien Brody at number one though, but Chalamet is very tempting. The fact that this film is overperforming, got 4 SAG nominations. I think he's going to win at SAG. And if I eventually think that The Brutalist is going to fall off and not win Best Picture, I find it hard to believe that it's going to win Director and Actor and a Tech or two and not win Picture. So I'm looking out for the possibilities of Chalamet surprisingly taking 1 or 2 things, and I think BAFTA might be that. The BAFTAs really like the music biopic, even giving the win to Austin Butler over Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin, so I think there is a chance that Chalamet follows that Austin Butler, Rami Malek strategy and is able to surprisingly take this. I mean, hell, they just like the biopic in general. Benedict Cumberbatch was heavily favored at BAFTA for Power of the Dog, and Power of the Dog ended up winning Picture at BAFTA, but he still lost to Will Smith in the Oscar bait biopic. So there is a chance that Brody ends up losing this to Chalamet, but the reason why I'm just going to stick with Brody at number one here is because his film is winning Best Picture at BAFTA, and I don't really think Bob Dylan is as big in Britain as Elvis or Freddie Mercury, so there's a reason why Butler and Malick won, because they were portraying these larger-than-life figures who were worldwide phenomenons, and I don't know if Bob Dylan has quite that same reach, so I'm going to keep Chalamet at number 2, but it is tempting. Brody, I'm sticking with at number 1. Ralph Fiennes, I see a lot of people trying to put at number 1 because they want to predict that Conclave is going to win BAFTA. I don't really see it. I think he's just going to be a very safe nomination the entire award season, and that's showing. He's gotten everything that he can. He's going to get the BAFTA nomination. I don't think he's going to win. Sebastian Stan, I honestly think, is number 4 here at BAFTA. The Apprentice was longlisted for Best Film, so it's obvious that the Brits, the international voters, have some passion over this movie. Sebastian Stan definitely getting a nomination. Daniel Craig, also, he is getting in everywhere. He got that surprise SAG nomination, so I think he's looking really good. The fact that he is British, I think Daniel Craig gets this nomination. Now, I really think there is a chance that Colman Domingo misses BAFTA. There is a chance that Hugh Grant takes this last spot. The BAFTAs have a history of nominating Hugh Grant. I think he has 3 or 4 BAFTA nominations, whereas he doesn't have any Oscar nominations. And because we know the BAFTAs have a history of snubbing very good black actors, black films, there is a chance Domingo misses here. You can look at last year and say Domingo got that nomination for Rustin, but he also got that because of the jury. And the fact that the jury is gone this year, I think there's a chance he can miss. And honestly, if Domingo misses BAFTA, I might predict both Sebastian Stan and Daniel Craig for the Oscar just because of how bad A24 is handling Sing Sing. But I'm going to hold on to a shred of hope and say Domingo still is able to get Sing Sing's only nomination and sneak in here in Best Actor just because he is so good in the film. If he doesn't get this though, I'm going to be so sad. Supporting actress, Zoe Saldana is taking this. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I think Grande is going to take Critics' Choice and SAG, but I think Saldana is going to take BAFTA. Like I said, with Emilia Perez's international support, I think she's looking good. And honestly, if there was someone to upset her, I think it might be Isabella Rossellini, just because Conclave is also going to have a lot of passion with the Brits, I feel. So Rossellini may be the upset pick here at the BAFTAs, but either way, it doesn't really matter. Once again, just predicting nominations. Grande also going to be a safe nomination. I don't think she has much of a chance to win at BAFTA. Her Oscar chances really rely on the 2 groups that I just previously said. Felicity Jones, there have been a lot of people worrying about her. I think the BAFTAs will go for her, especially if they're giving it Best Film. I think she's going to get this nomination and hopefully follow that up with an Oscar nomination, but I am really worried about her. Margaret Qualley for The Substance. Even if she's not getting in at the Oscars, I do think Qualley gets in here. This just seems like a film BAFTA's going to like quite a lot, so I think she gets in. She's been doing well with nominations so far, only missed SAG. I don't think that's going to affect her getting in at BAFTA. And my last slot here, I'm going with Michelle Austin for Hard Truths. I've been predicting her as like that really weird surprise lone BAFTA nominee that doesn't get in anywhere else. I've been predicting her for months, so I'm just gonna stick with that and hope it lands. I would love to see it. I would love to see Hard Truths get 2 nominations here instead of just 1. It would be really fun to see. I'm hoping Michelle Austin can pull this off. Selena Gomez for Emilia Perez. This really just depends on, are the BAFTAs as in love with this film as the Golden Globes are? I'm gonna say just a little bit less, and that might hold Selena Gomez back, especially since Michelle Austin is a Brit in the British movie. I'm going to say she gets in over Gomez, but there's a very real chance that I'm just being stubborn here with my Michelle Austin pick. So Gomez could very well get in at BAFTA. Emily Watson, Small Things Like These. This could also be that surprise lone BAFTA nomination that always tends to happen, so I'm looking out for her just as that fun Brit pick, but I don't think so. Supporting actor, I had been predicting Guy Pearce to win this for quite a while, but it is seeming more and more evident that Kieran Culkin's just going to sweep this award season. I thought with The Brutalist doing well at the Globes that Pearce could take the Globe due to the international support for the film. That didn't happen. Kieran Culkin won the Globe. I think he's going to sweep the entire season. Guy Pearce, though, I know he missed SAG, but BAFTA's going to like this film more than SAG did, so I think he's really safe for the nomination. I think Yura Borisov is really safe for the nomination. Honestly, might be number 2 here. I don't know. It just depends on, are these voters at BAFTA going to be more receptive to Anora than the international voters at the Globes? I'm not sure if they will or not, but I do think that Anora, at the very least, is safe for a bunch of nominations. Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown. It really looks like he is just coming along with A Complete Unknown, getting in everywhere he possibly can, just like the movie is. He's safe. Jeremy Strong, as I said with Sebastian Stan, the film is longlisted in picture. I don't see why he would miss here at BAFTA. He got Globe, he got SAG. He's looking really good. And this last spot, I don't believe in either Denzel or Clarence Macklin. I do not think the BAFTAs are good enough to go out for them, especially Macklin. I really don't think Macklin has a chance. Denzel has never been nominated for a BAFTA before. I don't think he's about to get his first BAFTA nomination with Gladiator 2, which just seems to be on the decline. So honestly, I think this could be Stanley Tucci, just because BAFTA's going to like Conclave a lot, and they like white people. So I think Stanley Tucci is going to sneak in here. Original screenplay, I still think Anora's taking this. I think it's going to win original screenplay at the Oscars. I don't really see why I would predict anything else. The Power of the Dog won picture director, but it could not even win screenplay, which it was favored for. So I don't think The Brutalist ends up beating it. I think it's probably number 2, but I don't really think The Brutalist just has enough to win in the screenplay category. So I think Anora just ends up taking this. A Real Pain, The Substance should be very safe nominations. They're going to show up at the Oscars. I don't see why they wouldn't show up here. This last spot is really a 3-way race for me. It's between Kneecap, All We Imagine Is Light, and The Apprentice. Kneecap and The Apprentice being longlisted for Best Picture puts those in good positions, and All We Imagine Is Light going to be getting that director nomination, so that's in a good position as well. I don't really think Challengers has a shot here. It might have a shot at the Oscar, but not at BAFTA. But anyways, these 3 films, I really don't know what to put here. You can pick any of these 3 and you would be as justified as what I'm going to pick, really. So I'm just going to throw Kneecap in there as just a nice British thing. I think it could happen. Kneecap got longlisted quite a lot, even more than I was expecting, and I was expecting it to get longlisted quite a lot. So I think Kneecap might take this. Not really confident in it, but who knows? They're British. Adapted screenplay, it's very obvious Conclave's winning this. The fact that it beat Anora at the Globes, like, it's just got a clear path to the Oscar, and this is just another stop along the way where it's going to win. Emilia Perez, very safe nomination, but probably not going to win since it couldn't win the Globe. A Complete Unknown, this is something that I honestly am feeling more and more like is going to happen at the Oscars. I think it's going to get the BAFTA nomination, WGA nomination, then just ride that into the Oscar nomination just because this film is so loved in the industry. I just think this is one of the categories where it starts to get over-nominated in. I know I was predicting Sing Sing for quite a while to maybe be number 2 for screenplay still. I don't believe it. I don't think it's going to get a nomination here. I think it's literally Domingo or bust. I don't see any possibility of screenplay or Macklin, so I don't think Sing Sing's getting in here. Nickel Boys, this was the only category it was longlisted for, so I don't know about it getting nominated here at BAFTA because they really did not like this film. The fact that it wasn't nominated for cinematography is really concerning about how well received this film is at BAFTA, and I'm just gonna say they snub another top tier African American story. So that really just leaves me with Wicked and Dune Part 2. I'm not really confident in these either. I just am not in Nickel Boys or Sing Sing, so I'm just gonna throw Dune and Wicked in here. Hope it lands on the wall. Honestly, I hope it doesn't. I hope either Nickel Boys or Sing Sing can take one of them out at least. Probably Nickel Boys would be the more likely, but yeah, I'm just gonna go with Dune, go with Wicked. Because I think Wicked's going to get an Oscar nomination at the moment, I think Nickel Boys just might replace Dune at the Oscars. This is what I'm going for right now. I might change it eventually, though. Best Casting, this is the one that I really wanted to spend a lot of time on, so hopefully this video doesn't go on for too long. Anyways, I am 100% confident that The Apprentice and Kneecap are getting casting nominations. Whether what I have at number 1 here, which I think is The Apprentice, actually wins or not really the point. I'm just 100% sure these two films are getting nominated, so that's why they are number 1 and 2. BAFTA does not just go for the biggest ensemble in their casting category. They really like interesting casting where it's like, how did you find this person to play this role? And I think finding Sebastian Stan to play Donald Trump is like the peak of that type of mentality. It's like, who do you cast in a Donald Trump biopic where it's not just going to be an SNL level parody? And the fact that they got Sebastian Stan, most well known for being in Marvel films, as Donald Trump, and he nails it so perfectly, I really just think that there's no way BAFTA passes up The Apprentice in casting solely because of what it takes to find the right person to play someone like Donald Trump. Kneecap really feels like just the British thing. They always throw 1 or 2 British picks into casting. They loved Kneecap. I really don't see a world where they don't nominate this. I would be really shocked if they didn't. Now here's where this gets tricky. BAFTA Best Casting always nominates only 1 SAG Ensemble nominee, and they will always nominate 2 Best Picture nominees from the Oscars not nominated in SAG Ensemble. The only problem is we only have 1 Oscar Best Picture nominee not nominated at SAG Ensemble this year, and the rest here are nominated for SAG Ensemble. I hope that made sense. But anyways, I think they're just going to follow this trend, but they're just going to have to do 2 SAG Ensemble nominees in here for the very first time. I think The Brutalist is going to fit that trend of being an Oscars Best Picture nominee, not in SAG Ensemble. I think The Brutalist is definitely showing up here. What they went through to cast this movie is a lot. If you guys don't know, just go to the Wikipedia page and look at the production tab on this. They had an entirely different cast. I think Mark Rylance was playing Guy Pearce's character, Joel Edgerton was playing Adrian Brody's, Marion Cotillard was playing Felicity Jones's, and the film just got delayed by a couple years due to COVID, I think, so they ended up having to completely recast this film. And because they absolutely nailed the casting, I think there's no way that The Brutalist doesn't get a Best Casting nomination with the fact that they went through all of this to get where they are. These last 2 slots are just up to what the 2 SAG Ensemble nominees are going to be. I think Amelia Perez gets in here. BAFTA really likes diverse casts in Best Casting, and last year, they could have easily gone with Oppenheimer in this category as the 1 SAG Ensemble nominee, but they went with Killers of the Flower Moon because that was casting a lot of Native Americans that you have never seen before, and they did such a great job. So I think Amelia Perez kind of fits that Killers of the Flower Moon, not in the sense that it's this something like a Martin Scorsese movie or anything, but just the diversity of the cast. Picking Carla Sofia Gascon, a trans actress who many of us had never seen before, as the titular role, I think is going to be good enough on its own to get the Best Casting nomination. And then this last spot, I am really toying with 3 different picks here. You know, they gave Elvis the Best Casting win, so that kind of leads me to think, ooh, they really like the music biopics. Maybe A Complete Unknown can get in here. But also another reason why they gave Elvis the win was because Austin Butler was basically an unknown at the time before Elvis, and that's what they really like. They really like when you're casting the unknown, and Timothée Chalamet is not that. I mean, maybe you can look to like Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez and say that is where this film gets Best Casting, but I don't know. I mean, I tried to do this, other people tried to do this last year where they were like, okay, so BAFTA obviously likes the biopics. We're going to predict Maestro in Best Casting. Maestro didn't get a Best Casting nomination, so I don't want to just pick A Complete Unknown because it's the biopic and they gave a biopic Best Casting once. So I'm going to say A Complete Unknown doesn't, just because it doesn't have that same unknown factor for the lead actor, like Elvis did. Conclave, I could see maybe getting in solely because of Carlos Diaz as Benitez, because he had never been in a film before, so finding him to play this part is really great, but I don't know if that's enough considering he's only on screen for what, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes max? I think Rossellini has more screen time in this film than Carlos Diaz does, so I don't know if that's going to be enough to get Conclave in here, because like I said, they don't just do like the best ensemble in here. They tend to like to be more adventurous in their picks, and Conclave is really just a big British film. You got Ralph Fiennes, you got, some Americans in John Lithgow and Stanley Tucci, and you got some other people in here. I don't really know if anything is really BAFTA best casting level aside from Diaz, who is in such a small part. So I'm going to lean in the favor of Honora in this category. Mikey Madison as the lead has that newcomer, the unknown type of casting in the lead role. Sean Baker casted her just off of seeing her and liking her in Scream 5. I think that's going to be sort of a cool narrative for BAFTA to maybe go with. And the other Russian actors in the ensemble, really none of them aside from Karen Korigulin have been seen in America, and the only reason why Karen had is because he was in another Sean Baker film. So I think between Mikey Madison just being this rising star, this being her breakout, and casting all of the Russians, which many people in the West had not seen before, I think that maybe gives Honora the edge here in this last spot in Best Casting. I don't really think Blitz has a chance. I don't really think Wicked has a chance. I would maybe look out for Back to Black being a surprise, because they gave it a few long lists that I wasn't expecting, so maybe this is just a British pick, but I think the movie's a little too not liked to get in here. So yeah, I'm just going to go with the 5 I have and hope I can get it. It would be really cool if I went 5 for 5, just because I put a lot of time into this one. Best non-English language film, Emilia Perez getting that Best Picture nomination. This is obviously winning. Kneecap got longlisted for Best Picture. This is obviously number 2. All We Imagine Is Light, I think, is number 3, because that's probably going to get director. Could get original screenplay, who knows? I think All We Imagine Is Light is really safe. I'm still here in Seed of the Sacred Fig. They didn't get longlisted anywhere else, but I really don't see a better argument for any other film longlisted for Best Non-English Language to get in over these two, which just seem like the biggest contenders for the Oscar overall among the things left. So I think I'm still here, Sacred Fig, definitely safe. And then yeah, Girl with the Needle, I can see getting that Oscar nomination, but I don't think it's over like Sacred Fig or something. Flow, probably just going to be relegated to animated. I don't think it sneaks in here. Who knows though? Best Documentary, I think we are once again going to see No Other Land win. I think Black Box Diaries is really safe. I think Daughters is really safe. They're all kind of expected to get nominations at the very least at the Oscars. I think they are safe. The BAFTAs tend to like to go with one of the celebrity documentaries, unlike the Oscars who just always reject them. So I'm thinking one of Will and Harper and the Superman Christopher Reeve story get in. I don't think both of them, because I think the Made in England films of Powell and Pressburger, that just seems like an England thing to do. I mean, the title is Made in England. I just think maybe some people voting for this category are just kind of gonna name check it, really. So I think Made in England is going to get in here as just the British pick that you can just forget about it. I don't even think it's shortlisted for the Oscar. I'm just between Will and Harper and the Superman movie as which celebrity one gets in. I'm gonna lean Will and Harper just because it seems a little bit stronger, but I can see it being the Superman one. I won't really care though. I do like both documentaries pretty equally, so I'm gonna be happy either way. Who knows? I'm gonna say Will and Harper. The Remarkable Life of a Bellin, also kind of competing for Best Documentary at the Oscars, but I just feel a little bit better about picking one celebrity biopic and picking that Made in England one. Maybe if the Made in England one it just isn't their thing, then I could see The Remarkable Life of a Bellin swapping out with that, but I don't really know. I'm not really 100% sure about this category, so if y'all in the comments want to like convince me of something to change here, let me know your thoughts. Best Animated, they only have 4 spots here for animated instead of 5. I'm going to say Flow wins. The fact that Flow won at the Golden Globes is good news for this film at BAFTA. I think it could very well just follow the Boy and the Heron path of Globe, BAFTA, Oscar, while Wild Robot gets the Critics' Choice and Annie Award. Wild Robot, obviously very safe nomination. It's number 2 at the very least, if not winning. Wallace and Gromit, these Aardman films always get BAFTA nominations. Wallace and Gromit seems really good for the Oscar. It's British. It's going to get a nomination here. This last spot is just between Inside Out 2 and Memoir of a Snail. I'm going to have Inside Out 2 in here. I know a lot of people are going to want to take it out and put Memoir of a Snail in. And Memoir of a Snail is my favorite animated movie of the year, so I would be very pleased if Memoir of a Snail got in here, but BAFTA always puts one of these Disney Pixar films in. Like last year, everyone was predicting Elemental to get snubbed here. Elemental still got in. Inside Out's the highest grossing movie of the year. I just think it's going to happen, even though that none of us really want it to. Cinematography, I think The Brutalist is taking this pretty easily. Conclave going to be a very safe nomination because BAFTA's going to love Conclave quite a lot, and they are going to nominate it in some categories that the Oscars won't. Emilia Perez, international support, it's going to get in. Dune Part 2, they are not as adverse to putting sequels in cinematography like the Oscars are, so honestly, even if Dune misses the Oscar, which I think is a good possibility here in cinematography, I think it still gets BAFTA. So this last spot is really just up to Nosferatu versus A Complete Unknown. I am recording this before either the British Society of Cinematographers or the American Society of Cinematographers nominations come out, so I am going to go with Nosferatu. They nominated Jaron Blaschke, or however you pronounce his name, for The Lighthouse. Nosferatu is bigger than The Lighthouse, so I'm going to say that Nosferatu is able to get in here in cinematography. However, if when the BSC and ASC nominations come out, if A Complete Unknown is in both and Nosferatu misses one of them, pretend like I have these flipped and I have A Complete Unknown in instead, because I really do think A Complete Unknown is going to get over-nominated here. I just don't know what categories to predict it in over other things. So A Complete Unknown, definitely a possibility, would not shock me. Like I said, if BSC and ASC come out and A Complete Unknown is in both, pretend like I had A Complete Unknown at number 5. The Substance, Anora, Civil War, Gladiator, I don't really think I have a chance. Editing, I just don't know what else to have at number 1 other than Dune 2. These are nominations as well, so it doesn't really matter what I throw on number 1. Dune is going to get nominated here. Conclave, very safe nomination. Emilia Perez, incredibly safe nomination with the international support. Anora probably going to get nominated here because it's going to do well on nominations. This 5th slot then, really between 3 films, Complete Unknown, The Substance, and Kneecap. Kneecap I honestly do think has a chance at this. They did really love the film, as I have said. I don't know if it gets in over the 2 Best Picture contenders though. Complete Unknown and The Substance, I'm gonna say A Complete Unknown gets in here because like I said, I feel like A Complete Unknown overperforms come nomination morning, both at BAFTA and at the Oscar. I think this is one category where it can get in because they nominate these music biopics and editing quite frequently. And because The Substance has largely been getting ignored in below-the-line categories, even at places where they love The Substance, I think there's a chance The Substance misses to A Complete Unknown here. Production design, we have 4 very safe nominations. Wicked, which is winning, The Brutalist, Dune, Gladiator, all getting nominated. After that, I'm really, I don't know. I'm probably going to talk myself into something on camera here because I don't know what's number 5. Blitz would be incredibly worthy of a production design nomination, and while it's completely dead for the Oscar, maybe, just maybe, it being a British movie, they are able to throw it a bone and give it a nomination here and maybe a couple other nominations. I did not like the movie at all. Like, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. But man, the production design is so good. Would be an absolutely worthy nomination. But I just don't know how loved this movie is. Does their love for, like, Conclave or A Complete Unknown put the production design above Blitz? I don't think Nosferatu gets in here. I just don't really feel good about BAFTA going all out for Nosferatu. Like, I know I predict in cinematography, but I don't see it getting 3 or 4 nominations at BAFTA. So I think this is really between Blitz, Conclave, A Complete Unknown. I might just go Conclave because they like these Pope movies. I'm gonna say they love Conclave more than Blitz, and that gives Conclave a production design nomination. Costumes, once again, 4 locks for nominations. Wicked's winning, Dune Part 2, Gladiator, Conclave, all getting nominated, no doubt. This is once again between a few. Blitz, Nosferatu, Beetlejuice even, and A Complete Unknown. They like the fantasy stuff sometimes, so maybe Beetlejuice is going to sneak in here. It did really well on the long list, so it feels weird to only predict it for makeup. Spoiler alert for that category. A Complete Unknown, I don't really see it. It's not doing like what Elvis did, what Bohemian Rhapsody did. Like, there aren't any flashy costumes, so even though that it is period, I don't think it gets in here. Nosferatu, once again, I'm just worried about it not hitting with BAFTA like it will at the Oscars. I'm gonna say this might be where they throw Blitz a bone. I don't feel good about it at all, but I don't really have any other movies here that are convincing me to take it out like I was with production design. So I'm gonna say Blitz is able to get a costume nomination here, but still won't really have a chance for the Oscar. Makeup, The Substance is obviously winning here. Like, why wouldn't it? Beetlejuice also, like I said, did very well on the long lists. I think the nomination, very safe. Dune Part 2, I think it's going to have enough behind it to get a makeup nomination here. I am predicting it for a couple snubs at BAFTA, but I don't think this is one of them. Nosferatu, because I'm not predicting it in production design and costumes, I'm going to say it gets 2 nominations, and this is the second one. I'm going to say the makeup, just on count or lock, is too good to pass up, and they nominate it. This last spot is really between The Apprentice and Emilia Perez for me. Both really loved on the BAFTA long lists. I'm gonna say it's Emilia Perez just because I think that's going to have a little bit more international support, and this might be one of the categories where that over-nomination type thing happens. So I'm gonna say Emilia Perez. The Apprentice, definitely a possibility. I don't really see Wicked getting in just for turning Cynthia Erivo green and there being a lot of hairstyling in the movie. It just doesn't feel right over the ones that I have above it. Special visual effects, Dune Part 2 is obviously winning. Planet of the Apes, Gladiator, obviously getting nominated. Better Man, Robbie Williams is really popular in the UK. I think even if Better Man isn't able to get a visual effects nomination at the Oscars, it gets in here. And then last here, I'm going to go with Alien Romulus. The fact that they gave Mission Impossible a visual effects nomination last year, I think Alien is pretty in line with that, so I'm going to say Alien. Wicked, the only other one here that I can see getting in above Alien, but I don't know. I just don't believe in Wicked in visual effects enough, and I think that Alien just fits that pattern of the Mission Impossible and visual effects type thing. Best sound, I don't know what's winning here. Once again, doesn't really matter because these are just nomination predictions. I've said that like 8 times now. I've really got to stop with this shit. Dune at number 1. Emilia Perez, Complete Unknown, Wicked, all very safe nominations. BAFTA nominates anything with music in it, basically. We're talking Maestro last year, we're talking Tar and Elvis the year before, we're talking, like, obviously La La Land, West Side Story, Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody, One Sound. All 3 of these movies with music in them are safe. And then for this 5th spot, I'm kind of between Gladiator, Blitz, and Conclave. Conclave could very well get it, kind of that over-nomination thing once again, but I don't know, I just don't think there's enough sound design in Conclave to get it. I mean, there's really, that one explosion and then some like construction work in like the first 15 minutes. I don't know. I just don't think there's quite enough in Conclave. And Blitz, I just think is going to underperform. Like, I know I threw it a bone in costumes. I don't think sound happens because I really don't want to predict more than 1 or 2 nominations. Gladiator 2, last year, Mission Impossible and Ferrari both got nominated. I think Gladiator just follows that trend of blockbuster movies with a ton of action sound in Best Sound. So I'm going to predict Gladiator 2. Original score, I think The Brutalist wins here. You know, Challengers was not long-listed and Challengers won the Globe. It's probably going to win Critics' Choice. I think this is where The Brutalist wins and then gets the momentum into winning the Oscar maybe. I don't know. It's going to win Best Film, so why not? Conclave, definite nomination. Emilia Perez, definite nomination. The Wild Robot, I think, is going to get nominated. They nominated Spider-Verse in score last year, and the Oscars did not. So it's obvious that they're at least a little bit more receptive to animated films in other categories at BAFTA. So I'm going to say The Wild Robot looks good for a score nomination. And then the 5th slot, I'm not convinced about any of these. I mean, Blitz, The Substance, Nosferatu, Beetlejuice, Gladiator, The Outrun. I don't know what to put in at number 5 here. None of these make any sense at all. The Substance is the only Best Picture film here, so you could just go with that, but it hasn't been showing up anywhere in score at any place, so I don't really believe in that. Gladiator, significantly worse score than the first one. Beetlejuice, I was like, ooh man, Danny Elfman, you know, he's a big name. Maybe they go with him since the film did good on the long lists. BAFTA's nominated Danny Elfman 2 less times than the Oscars have, so I don't really think he's going to get a name-check nomination. Nosferatu, I don't believe in score. The Outrun makes no sense at all. Maybe they just go with Blitz because it's Hans Zimmer and because Dune is ineligible. They just throw Hans Zimmer a bone and say, here you go, this is your pity nomination, basically. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense to give Blitz 2 nominations. Best British Film, I think Conclave is obviously winning this because it is getting nominated in Best Picture. Kneecap is obviously number 2 because it's the only other one long-listed for Best Picture. Hard Truths, I think, is good for the nomination. Blitz, probably good for the nomination because it's at least one of the bigger British productions, even though that it's not a great movie. Gladiator, probably good for it. Wallace and Gromit, definitely going to happen here. Lee and The Outrun did good on the long list, so they should show up in Best British Film. Paddington and Peru, they kind of like these cute animated movies that are British productions, so why not throw Paddington in there as well? We Live in Time, I guess, would be my next best pick. It's a well-received film. A lot of good audience word of mouth for it, so maybe We Live in Time gets this last spot. I don't really know. I mean, I'm not putting that much thought into Best British Film, but that's kind of my 10. I think Bird is a possibility. British Debut, I put even less thought into this. All I know is Kneecap is obviously winning this. I think Monkey Man is getting a nomination. Honestly, with my 5 nominees, I just went with the 5 that basically everyone else is going with. So I got Kneecap, Monkey Man, Bring Them Down, which I saw a trailer for, that looks pretty cool. Santosh and Sister Midnight. I don't really have any reason for those last 3. Most other people are predicting those, so I'm going in line. I don't really know much about British debut feature history at the BAFTAs. Alright everybody, that's it for my BAFTA nomination predictions. I hope this video didn't run on too long for all of you. There were a lot of categories to predict. I tried to be fast in the below the line things, but what are your thoughts? What do you think about Best Casting? I'd like to see what you're thinking about that because that's one that I put a lot of time into, so I'm hoping I go 5 for 5. That would be really fun, but anyways, I'm expecting to get some stuff wrong here. BAFTA is always a little bit weird, so we'll see on Wednesday. Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you liked what you saw here today and you would like to see more, subscribe to follow the Odyssey that is Oscar season.